Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with your boy Matty B and my counterpart there, Kyle Quinn. Back from the bye week, we're back to break down the Cleveland Brown game, but we're also back to review because we gotta go back. We got to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneer game. A lot has happened in the last time we spoke. Kyle Quinn, first and foremost, I see you survived the bye, and welcome to the brand new network.
I thank you, Matt, for welcoming me to the new network. I barely survived the bye week, especially because the other team in town didn't really help hold us over. So
yeah, it's been rough.
Now we're all turning our eyes to the Eagles this week.
It's been a rough couple hours, almost a day now. But yeah, it's been rough. And you're right, the Eagles. I guess the Eagles will hopefully soften that blow. We also got the Flyers starting tomorrow night, so that's a plus. But Kyle, in order to look ahead, we must look back. And the last time we spoke, of course, it was there was not much confidence in our both. We both picked the Eagles to beat the Buccaneers. We both thought that this was a game that they could build off of the momentum, defensively speaking, at least, that they had against the Saints. Kyle, it didn't work out that way. 33-16 drubbing at the hands of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were nothing that the Eagles did worked at all, and all the momentum that might have been gained against the Saints was completely lost.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of those games where you come away and you're like, I mean, when Tampa Bay drove down the field and scored that first touchdown, you almost saw it on the Eagles' faces, and you knew this was just not going to go well at all. And it's one of those games you come away and you're like, man, we did absolutely nothing well. And you have no positive takeaways after it besides, Saquon Barkley is a game-changing player. If, given the opportunity to change a game, which we didn't, I mean, the coach made terrible mistakes. The quarterback made a critical error once again in a critical spot. The defense did not carry over the momentum from the Saints game, like you said. And I mean, and even the special teams blew it. So that was just a shoot yourself in the foot. And yeah, I mean, they got their ass kicked because of it.
And in more ways than one, not only did the Eagles get their asses kicked, but the way they got their asses kicked. Baker Mayfield, 30 for 47, 347 yards he threw against the Eagle defense, 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans was kind of running wild back there the entire game, 94 yards on 8 receptions. Kyle, the biggest story coming out of the bye or going into the bye, however you want to look at this, has been what is going on with the Vic Fangio, and we'll talk defense first. What is going on with the Vic Fangio savior? Is he better than Sean Desai? I don't know if he is at this point or not. The bend don't break scheme that he runs seems to be breaking more than bending.
Yeah, it definitely broke way more than it bent in the Tampa Bay one. I bent and broke in the Tampa Bay game. They were really doing that through the first 3 weeks at least. I mean, they were letting up big plays versus Green Bay, but they were pretty good in the red zone there. Same with Atlanta, barring the final drive. And then the Saints, they were keeping the Saints out of the end zone that whole game. But this was just a complete 180 from that, at least. I mean, they couldn't really cover anybody to begin with. They still can't. That's leading to some changes this week that I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, the Vic Fangio thing is weird. It's like, does he have the talent or is he not getting the most out of the talent that he has? I don't know. I mean, his defenses apparently notoriously take a little while to get going because they're tough to learn. So I don't know if it's that with some of the younger players or just, they have guys past their prime or some of the young players we have aren't good enough, but nothing really going well there, especially if you want to factor in the $50 million player they got this offseason not contributing whatsoever. So it's just a mess on the defense.
Yeah, no, it's obviously the Huff thing and all that. By the way, I know I was negligent. Kyle, of course, is a show producer over there at the midday show on 94 WIP, and you're watching this on the It's a Wrap Sports Network, also streaming out on the EOP Facebook and EOP X accounts. So, if you're new to the program, I don't know how much longer I can keep with EOP and their social media. So please like and subscribe on the YouTube address down there as the scrolly thing is going across your screen. Kyle, we look at this thing when we break these games down. We look at good, bad, ugly. I'm going to give you the first here. I can't find any good. Is there something I'm missing, with maybe the exception of Saquon once again, proving to be that was a right signing? But other than that, Kyle, I can't pull anything good out of this game.
No, I mean it was Saquon Barkley. I mean, if you want to mention the fact that the Eagles even got themselves back into the game remotely at some point before Jalen Hurts turned the ball over, but you can attribute that directly to Saquon Barkley. It was all bad, all ugly in this one, top to bottom. I guess it all just depends on what you want to say is the bad and what you want to say is ugly, but you can make an argument that it was just all ugly that day. Just
Yeah, and so with that being said, we're not gonna delineate between bad and ugly. We're just gonna talk about it. We mentioned the defense a little bit, but I want to get a little bit more in depth with the defense. Kyle, 15 missed tackles, 15 missed tackles. Kyle, I don't know about you, but you would think that tackling would be one of those 101 fundamentals that you would have to learn long before you get to the National Football League.
Yep, and you also got to have the want to, which I think is really the biggest thing that those guys back there are missing. And Darius Slay last year was talking about how he wants to have all his teeth and all that stuff. So I'm not going and tackling. So I mean that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. You do see some of the young guys going out there trying to make tackles, but I mean Avonte Maddox cooked, C.J. Gardner-Johnson cooked, Darius Slay same thing. So it's maybe it's a veteran thing, but I mean Vic Fangio needs to get a wrap on that like immediately.
He does, and I'm not, this is not a show to pick on the defense because, yes, the offense definitely shared fair blame in all this as well. Kyle, heading into the season, it wasn't a secret. It was not a secret that the Eagle offense was going to have to carry this team because of a lot of the question marks on defense. Through 4 weeks, 2-2 now, by the way, on the season, the Eagles are. I don't think the Eagle offense is pulling their fair share.
No, it's not. And I mean, last week they were totally banged up. I mean, you saw the receivers that they had out there. They might as well have been me and you out there running routes for the Eagles that day. I mean, it was Saquon Barkley and nothing else. But, again, they did give themselves an opportunity to sort of get themselves back into the game. And then the quarterback did what he does every single week dating back last season, and that's turn the ball over at a terrible time. So, I mean, to me, there's a few common denominators with the offense. Obviously, it's Nick Sirianni, if you want to even go there. I don't know the extent of his involvement, but then the other one's Jalen Hurts. And I mean, that's just something that can't be ignored. Is a big reason this offense is struggling is because the quarterback is giving away possessions to the other team.
And he continues to make bad decisions with the football. He continues to hold on to the football too long. And every week that we kind of go through this, and by the way, Hurts on the day was 18 for 30 for 158 yards. He did have a touchdown. He was sacked 6 times for 44 yards, which is amazing that Jalen Hurts got sacked 6 times. And again, I understand that it's more of a pocket type system, which I still cannot understand why they're not rolling him out on just about every play, at least until he figures himself out. He did have the one turnover, the fumble, which now is his 22nd turnover in the last 26 games. He had another fumble, but luckily the Eagles retained possession of the ball. Kyle Quinn, I say all this to tell you, to ask you this seemingly, the way Jalen Hurts has been trending is very eerily similar to another quarterback that just left here not too long ago in Carson Wentz with the remarkable off-the-chain season. Wentz is 17, Hurts is 22, and then just regression on all fronts after that. Kyle, did Howie Roseman, and I know, God forbid I speak negatively about the GM, the mastermind there, did Howie Roseman once again back up the Brinks truck to the wrong quarterback?
So I've done the Wentz comparisons in my head nonstop. Every time he turns the ball over, I'm thinking about, having flashbacks, stuff like that. But I will say, I think the key difference here is that when Carson Wentz regressed in 2020, he was the worst quarterback in football. Jalen Hurts is not the worst quarterback in football right now. I mean, he's been not great. The turnovers absolutely have to stop. But, he's not just completely inept out there, where Carson, you couldn't rely on any single snap. And if Jalen can at least get the ball to guys, he can at least still makes a little bit of plays with his legs. I mean, Carson, by that point, was just completely and totally cooked. So while I think Jalen needs to clean it up and it's unacceptable, I'm not going as far as to say this whole thing is a disaster, terrible contract, just yet. I mean, there's ways to go. We'll see how the rest of the season pans out. But he's sort of just a mixed bag right now at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's 4 weeks in, and you're right. We can sit back and with hindsight with Carson Wentz because we have the whole body of work. We don't have the whole body of work with Jalen Hurts, but it just seems to be trending in that way for me. Too similar for my liking. Carson Wentz's excuse to me was the ACL injury. Never was quite the same after that. We don't have that issue with Jalen Hurts. He hasn't sustained a major injury like that yet, but he just seems to not. It just Kyle. It just to me it doesn't seem like he's figuring out how to be a quarterback at this, or more importantly, an elite quarterback at this level.
Yeah, he doesn't have that it anymore that you saw in 2022. And sometimes it's something that you can't really describe or like put a name to. It's just like it, and you know it when you see it. And some guys just, they get that magic for a year and they never recapture it, like Cam Newton. And then you have the guys like the Lamar Jacksons who kind of go up and down, and their highs are really, really high, and their lows, you're kind of like, what the hell is going on? So, you know, you don't really know what you have. It does look like he's a little bit less athletic, and he's obviously not making as good of decisions as he had in the first 2 years of his career. So, like I said, I mean, a lot of it's just sort of a mixed bag right now, but definitely trending in the wrong direction.
You mentioned all the injuries to the wide receivers, the injury to Lane Johnson. The Eagles were definitely not at their best heading into Tampa, but for a team with Super Bowl aspirations, they should have been able to at least be more competitive than they were. All of this resulted in a 33-16 defeat. Now time for the Birds Blast stat pack from last week. Eagles were 2 for 3 in the red zone, which was very encouraging that they were able to cash in more times than they didn't in the red zone. On the season now, 8 for 17 in the red zone for 47%. First half points, Kyle, it continues to plague this team. Scoring points in general in the first half continues to plague this team. Only 7 first half points last week to go along with 9 second half points. Now 31 first half points and 55 second half points. The Eagles committed 5 more penalties in this game for 41 yards, 21 penalties for 86 now. Once again, the Eagle defense or the offense or special teams, nobody wearing midnight green committed or forced any turnovers as the Eagles continue to be extremely futile in that department. Mm-hmm. Still just 2 forced turnovers through 4 games in 2024. Both of course, we mentioned Reed Blankenship is the recipient of both of those turnovers in those center field interceptions. Eagles committed 2 more turnovers on their side, now raising their total for 8 for the season. They allowed 6 sacks for 45 yards, 13 for 85 on the season. They got to Baker Mayfield twice for 13 yards, 6 for 21 on the season. 1 for 2 on fourth down efficiency. 5 for 10 now on the season. Kyle, you made a comment about this. I think it was the last time we had this pregame show was 8 times through 3 games was a lot to be going forward on fourth down. Now we're up to 10, and it leads me into, of course, the question about Nick Sirianni once again under fire, under duress for incompetence on the sidelines.
Yeah, I mean, look, Nick Sirianni did not make great decisions in that game whatsoever. The problem with the Eagles for me comes before the fourth down play. Yeah, you think about it. 8 fourth down plays, and think about how many opportunities they're going for it on fourth down. Stop getting yourself in that position. Convert a first down. I mean, the problem with the offense is that they're playing from behind the sticks. They get a bad penalty or they lose a couple yards on the first play, and then all of a sudden it's 2nd and 13. And then you just get yourself in trouble. And that's when Jalen Hurts starts making the mistakes. Like, they have to play ahead of the sticks and stop putting themselves in position where it's either 3rd and long or 4th and mid yardage in like no man's land. I mean, that was the biggest thing this offense did in 2022 when they were humming, was just first down. I mean, Jalen hits AJ for 15. Then he hits Devontae for 20. And then, Miles Sanders, if God love him, for 15 yards or something like that. Like, that's when you know a good offense when you see it. And it's an offense that just continues to get first down after first down. We don't do that. So that's why we're falling behind. That's the big problem with the fourth downs. And I know you asked me about Nick Sirianni, and yeah, he sucked. But really the problem starts with just the offense not being able to move the ball.
Yeah, but 10 attempts, 10 times they've gone forward on fourth down through 4 games. That's I have not done the all-time research on that. That's a lot of times, Kyle.
Yep.
Going forward on fourth down.
Yeah, no, I mean it is, and it's sort of a double-edged sword at times, because when you have the kind of talent that you do on offense, at least through the first 3 games, not in that Tampa game, you're saying to yourself, why don't we trust the quarterback? Why don't we trust the offense to get a few yards. Like some of the best coaches and best offenses do. They do that. Patrick Mahomes, well, I guess not Andy Reid per se. Andy can be pretty conservative, but you'll see Harbaugh and Lamar go for it all the time. Like, because they have the confidence that they're going to pick up those yards. I don't necessarily know. Like, that's something that you want your coach and quarterback to have. Now, who that starts with, whether it's Jalen, and he should not have confidence in Jalen, that's all another question. Or is he just showing way too much confidence and sometimes just sort of just overplaying his hand? I mean, that's part of it too. I think it's probably a combination of both.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either, Kyle, but they got to figure it out. Of course, we both picked the Eagles to win that game. We both were wrong. I am now 0-4 on the season of picking these games. I haven't been right yet. You're 1-3. We both also had Saquon Barkley as the game MVP. You might make a case for it, but I'm not going to pick an Eagle to be an MVP of this game in that type of game. What do you say, Kyle? Baker Mayfield, we got to give it to him for 347. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give it up to Baker.
Got to give it Baker Mayfield. Woo. But anyway, we got to turn the page because we thankfully have escaped and moved through the bye week. I didn't really get your take on this. We talked about it briefly, Kyle. I'm not a fan of a week 5 bye. I wasn't a fan of that. I think it's too early in the season. But with everything considering what's going on with the Eagles right now, do you think this might be a blessing in disguise or just setting us up for a very long 13 weeks?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we'll see at the end of the day. But I think the teams that are really strong in the beginning of the year and have a lot of tough battles, and they're going to be fighting for postseason contention going into deep into January. They could probably use a late bye. I don't know if I necessarily view the Eagles as that kind of team. We're probably a one and done playoff team, and we're a team that sort of needs to find its identity, especially through the first 4 games of the season, where 2-2 record shows you don't have one.
No.
You have a nice stretch of 4 games coming up where you can sort of like reset and say, hey, these are 4 winnable games. Let's go, at minimum 3-1, or maybe we can squeak out of this at 6-2 before we have to play the Cowboys. Like, that's a big deal, right? And you can talk about who's on their schedule or whatever. But if you look at those 4 games right now, you're not guaranteeing a win in any of them just based on how the Eagles are playing. So this is a big opportunity for them, I think, early on in the season, and to have the bye sort of self-reflect, especially after that tough 4 weeks ahead.
Yeah, and that opportunity is going to come out on Sunday in the form of the Cleveland Browns, who come into this game probably in worse shape than the Eagles are. 1-4, nothing's working out right. The entire team is banged up. They're just dealing with a lot of issues on that team right now. And we talked about this in our pregame or our preseason type like preview show. It's just they just can never figure it out in Cleveland. It's an enigma. It's hard being a Philadelphia sports fan. It's very hard being a Philadelphia sports fan. But when I look at teams like the Browns and, snake-bitten franchises like that, man, I got to take my hat off to them people because I don't know, man. I have a hard time hanging on here. I don't know. I probably would be dead if I was a Browns fan. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they don't get much, if anything, up there. I mean, they had the Cavaliers for a little while there. But, I mean, talk about – I mean, the Browns left them and then came back and have been nothing but misery
ever since.
Entire time that they've been there.
They made the playoffs twice?
Yeah.
And since they've been back? Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yep. And then they let the quarterback go that finally took them there, Baker.
Yeah, they did. And so 1-4, coming off of a smoking at the hands of the Washington Commanders, who, by the way, I chose back in August to win the NFC East, and so far it seems to be happening. But we got a long way to go. Before we get into breaking this thing down, I got a comment here from the STT Sports Network asking, what's more important, getting offense right or getting defense right versus the Browns? Kyle, I'll let you handle that one.
Well, I will say the worst case scenario in this game is that this defense get carved up by quite possibly the worst quarterback to be playing in the NFL right now, in Deshaun Watson. I mean, look, the Browns, if they have one good thing about them, it's their defense, their defensive line. I guess Myles Garrett's a force. He can be a problem. So I think I would be, just to answer your question in more of a backwards way, be way, way more disappointed if this defense does not hold the Browns down. I mean, that will be an absolute disaster.
It was smack of a lot of the Arizona Cardinal game last year, if you ask me. And matter of fact, I'm getting a lot of those vibes heading into this game. But
yeah, I mean, I would even say like the Cardinals at least had a problem at quarterbacks that we had to worry about. Like the Browns, the Browns are, I mean, they're a joke.
Yeah.
There's no way we should lose this game to them.
And this is all going to tie in at the end of the show because I have a very interesting question of the week for you. But I agree. So with that all being said, we got a game here on Sunday, 1:00 at the Link. The Eagles have not released, or the Browns have not released, what uniform combinations they will go with. I imagine the Eagles are going to go with the midnight tops and the white pants to turn the Browns around, and they're all whites. I know that's not a thing anymore as a game day strategy. I wish it was, because I really miss that type of uniform strategy. Call me weird, but I thought it really worked, especially when we played the Cowboys. But weather down in Philly, weather at the Link, partly cloudy, little chance of rain. High in the mid-70s. Should be a nice day for football. Kyle, let's talk about the injury report before I get your take on this game. Both these teams come into this game a little dinged up. The Browns really dinged up, but the Eagles, Johnny Wilson, the wide receiver, is still dealing with a concussion, but he was a full participant in practice this week. Devontae Smith should be back as well, concussion, but a full participant. Nia Smith, dealing with the ankle problem, was a full participant. Lane Johnson, of course, another big piece of the puzzle that was missing, is still listed with concussion, but was also a full participant. Sidney Brown has had his reactivation window opened up. He was a full participant. A.J. Brown, a full participant. Reed Blankenship was a full participant, but he's dealing with an illness. Nakobe Dean, a little tweaked up with an ankle, was limited at practice. For the Browns, let's go with this one. James Hudson, the offensive tackle, did not participate because of a shoulder problem. David Njoku, the tight end, a knee injury, did not participate. There we go. Okabana Okonorwako, the defensive end, illness, was a full participant. Ethan Pokic, knee problem, did not participate. Pierre Strong, the running back, with a hamstring, was limited. Denzel Ward, their cornerback, with a hamstring, did not participate. Jedrick Willis, their offensive tackle, with a knee injury, was limited. Zach Zinter, the offensive guard, a knee injury, was limited. Nick Chubb, a huge piece of that offense, dealing with a knee problem, was limited. Jack Conklin, the offensive tackle, hamstring limited. Amari Cooper was rested, so he'll probably be a go. Grant Delpit, a safety with a concussion, did not participate. Mohamed Diabate, linebacker, a hip, was limited. Devonta Foreman, the running back, another running back problem, ankle, did not participate. The big one, Myles Garrett, day-to-day with an Achilles issue. Not really sure what his game day status will be, but he did not participate. Ronnie Hickman, the safety, ankle, did not participate. Jordan Hicks, the linebacker, with an elbow, was limited. I got about 5 more people to go here. Naheem Hines, the knee problem, limited. Jerry Jeudy, with the knee problem, was a full participant. And Marquise Hurst, the defensive tackle, limited participant with a hamstring injury. Kyle Quinn, I have never read an injury report quite like that. Speaking of the Cleveland Browns.
That was like a book. What was that one dude's name in the middle then that began with an O?
Let me go back to it. You want me to say it again?
No, I don't. I don't want you to say it.
No, I will, because I gotta do better with that stuff.
Actually, could you repeat every single one of those?
Sure, I'll start at the top. Obviously, the 2 big names out of, there's about, that's the entire, that's the starting unit of players that are dinged up. Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, probably the 2 big. You toss Cooper and you can toss Jeudy in there too. The Browns are a dumpster fire, Kyle Quinn.
Yeah, that's a disaster. I didn't realize it was that bad.
Yeah.
Gotta be a big part of the reason why they're 1-4. But really, honestly, I think my biggest worry going into this was not how injured the Browns were or how healthy they were going to be. It was going to be, will they bench Deshaun Watson? And if they do, we are in trouble, because Jameis Winston would tear this defense apart.
Yes, he would.
You know who won't? Deshaun Watson. That's the only thing I'm happy about. Is Deshaun healthy? Is he playing? Yes. Good. Great. We're good.
So with everything stacked against the Browns and the Eagles with a, homecoming game of sorts, we haven't really played. This is only your second home game, only game in the month of October, by the way, that's at home. People should be pretty revved up for this game. Is this a must win for the Philadelphia Eagles? In every aspect that we can mention, is this a must win?
Yeah. As big of a must. It's actually, I would describe this one as more of a can't lose. You cannot lose to this Cleveland Browns team. If you do, everything is going to change. everything is going to change. I mean, I will turn heel on this football team
Oh
if they
no, you
lose.
heard it here first, folks. Kyle Quinn getting ready to jump off the bus, man, if they lose to the Browns.
And
Okay, Kyle, with the injuries, the must win, the sense of urgency that should be resting with the Eagles. The Eagles more healthy, a lot more healthy than the Browns coming into this game. What are your keys to Eagle victory?
well, all right. So the first one is going to be, we talked about this a little bit earlier. You have to start fast, like score some points in the first quarter. That's going to be key. You're up 7-0, you're up 14-0. Then you know what that does? It makes Deshaun Watson have to throw the football. And that is the worst possible thing that can happen for the Cleveland Browns, is if Deshaun Watson has to throw the football. So start off right off the bat with scoring some points finally for the first time in the first quarter. The second one is going to be get off the field on third down. I think the Browns might have the worst third down efficiency in football. So if they're not getting off the field on third down, then that's another major, major red flag for the Eagles defense. And they have to put Deshaun Watson in those situations. Like we talked about our offense playing ahead of the sticks. We have to make sure the Browns playing behind the sticks. That's another part of making Deshaun throw the football. So you got to start fast. You got to make sure they're on those third and long plays. And then we have to punch it in the red zone. Like, this whole stalling in the red zone or throwing a pick or having to kick a field goal, like you're going for it, God forbid, and not getting it. That stuff has to stop. This offense needs to find ways to start cashing in on these long drives. I would wager the Eagles have some of the most offensive yardage, at least through the first 4 weeks, but before they had the bye week in football, because they were moving the ball. They just did not score, and that was for a variety of reasons. That absolutely has to stop. So they can do that. They can get out ahead and get off the field on third down. I mean, they should murder this team.
Yeah.
The Eagles should absolutely kill this team.
It's a PR nightmare if they don't. And again, save that point to the end of this because it's a very interesting question. I think it's an interesting question. But my 3 keys Eagle victory, you took it from me, and I've been saying it for 2 years. Is, yeah, you're right. Fast start. We got to get some points on the opening drive. Come on, man. This is ridiculous. We got to score some points on the opening drive. And for anything to settle people down, to settle the Eagles down, for God's sakes, play from ahead at least one time. Try it. You might like it. So get off to a fast start. Need to win any way possible. These are probably your 3 and my 3 keys to victory are probably the 3 most vanilla fundamental keys to victory that I think I've ever heard us talk about, because that's where we're at right now. But find a way to win any way as possible. And Jalen Hurts, my number 1 key to Eagles victory, start playing like an elite quarterback, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, and I would even go as far as to say, like, they can't just squeak by this Browns team, or I will still have major problems. Like, they need to kick their ass. They're favored by 9.5 points, which you can argue this Eagles team has no business being favored 9.5 points over anybody. But, like, they're favored that much for a reason. This Browns team is dog crap. Their quarterback is dog crap. Like, we should not only win this game, I need to see the Eagles get style points in this one.
And with that being said, Kyle, what's your score? Who's winning, and who's your MVP?
So I'm supposing now is going to be the time to do this. Matt, am guaranteeing an Eagles victory this week against the Browns.
That's great.
Because you have the official Kyle Quinn guarantee. So have no fear, everybody. The Eagles are going to win. They're going to win 28-13. And the MVP of the game, it's going to be A.J. Brown. He's going to show how really important he is to this Eagles offense. He's going to have a monster play, a bunch of catches, maybe a touchdown or 2.
Yeah, that would be a recipe for winning, of course. I got Cleveland winning this game. I do. For only one reason. I really don't believe that they're going to win, but I picked them back in August. I'm sticking with them. No. I got them winning 31-24, and I got Chubb being the MVP if he plays. So I'm just going to go with that. I don't have any confidence in the Eagles winning this football game. Not one bit. I've seen it too many times in the recent past that we had the similar conversation again. I go back to the Arizona Cardinal game, and people might be saying, why is he dwelling in the past of 2023? Well, in case you haven't noticed, we are still playing in 2023, if you ask me. But the way this team has kind of started this season is very reminiscent to last year. So I'm going to go with the Browns 31-24, and Nick Chubb is my MVP.
Matt, with all due respect,
yes,
that's one of the most insane things I have ever heard.
It
The
is.
Dude, the Browns are the Giants team and the Cardinals team, which I could argue is rock bottom of last year. The Browns are worse than those two teams combined right now. I
You're
don't
right.
think, Matt, I don't think you could give the Browns 120 minutes and they would score 31 points on offense. I mean, they are brutal. It's not happening. I mean, the
I
Eagles
hope
are
not.
going to win this game.
I hope not, and I hope you are right. But again, I'm sticking to my guns on this one. 31-24, Cleveland with the win.
Unbelievable.
Which again brings me to my vaunted question of the week. What we do here on the program every week is I lock myself in a hermetically sealed room and I come up with this great question to kind of tease Kyle's brain. And we've talked about it. We've hinted around it. It's mentioned a little bit throughout the course of this show. Kyle mentioned it not more than 2 minutes ago, but I'm going to pose it to him kind of in like a two-parter. Part one, as you already said, obviously this is a game where the Eagles need to win with style points. This is the game, the clean game that we've been looking for since the Buffalo game or since maybe the Dolphin game of last year that we haven't had since then. But how alarming would it be if the Eagles were to win this game 12-10, but still win, but squeak it out? Does it have to be a decisive win for you, Kyle Quinn?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah, it can't be 12-10. I mean, if this offense scores 12 points, then like with everybody healthy, it's an abomination. And I can only assume that it's because the quarterback or somebody was turning the ball over a bunch of times, which, I mean, is at this point already unacceptable. If it happens again in a game versus the Browns and you let that team in the game in that way, just in any sense, then it's a failure. I mean, this Eagles team has to show that they are a lot better than the Browns, or we have no business being favored against anybody the rest of the season.
Now, if they do win again, but they don't win decisively, and they don't win by, I mean, are you putting, obviously with your score here, so you're putting like a 3-score, a 2-score field goal type situation? Is that the gap here? Does it have to be 14 or 17 points more for you to feel good, or does it just have to be, if they're up 41-0 at half and end up winning the game 41-30, that is what it is. But
right.
Okay.
So I would just say you'll know a dominant Eagles performance when you see it.
Yeah,
right. Like we're going to come away from the game saying, wow, the Eagles actually dominated the team for the first time since the beginning of 2023. That's going to be the first time that we've been able to say that since then. We're going to know it. I'll just, like, if you want me to put a number on it, the spread's 9.5. We got cover the spread.
Okay.
Cover the damn spread. How about that?
Now, God forbid they don't win. You've already mentioned you're jumping off the bus, but what is the appropriate reaction, if any, that you would expect from the Eagles management team, the owner, the general manager? What is the appropriate action or reaction to an Eagle loss to the Cleveland Browns in Week 6?
Well, so what I think is going to happen, or what they should do?
Both. Give me both.
So, look, if they lose to the Cleveland Browns, I'm not losing sleep. They fire the coach, Nick Sirianni. I mean, at that point, this season's not going anywhere. And I'm willing to, put some boots to asses and get I don't know what happens, who you get to come in, but, at least you get a head start on coaching candidates next season. I mean, that's drastic. There's no way that happens. I don't think the Eagles consider firing him this early in the season. They just don't do it. I mean, we've seen Eagles teams hit absolute rock bottom in the middle of the season, and they still wait it out. I think what the Eagles like to do, and it's sometimes to a fault, is I think a lot of it actually, Matt, is going to depend on, is this division within reach? If they're a game or two back in the division with 10 or so games left to play, they're looking at this like, no, we have an opportunity to go take this if we can just right the ship. And you're not going to right the ship if you bring in a new coach. You're basically punting the season by bringing in a new coach. So I don't think they would go that route, but it wouldn't be something where I'm like, no, you can't fire a coach after a loss like that. Like that's something where you have to start considering everything.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, the first domino has fallen in the NFL. Robert Saleh was literally, I heard, escorted out of the Jets facility with his stuff in a hefty bag. So the teams have already started to make moves. I think though, if the Eagles do lose this game, I honestly, Kyle, to be bluntly honest, and you know this, I don't think they should have brought Nick Sirianni back. And you were kind of on that same platform too, but I think you kind of talked yourself into it after they did. But after what happened in Tampa, they had an opportunity, a better opportunity to make a move like that going into a bye week than they would coming out of a bye week. So I would look at this as a panic move, as a lost opportunity. And you're right, punting on the season.
Yeah, I mean, especially because look, when if with a week 5 bye, you're 2-2, and you're a game back in the division. Like there's no way you view the rest of the season as lost, especially with the talent that you amassed on your offense. You don't sign Saquon Barkley to punt the season after 4 games when you go 500, right? Like especially if the Vikings are the only team in the NFC that's like pulling away from everybody. Even the Niners are 2-3. So I mean, the Eagles have a shot. They view it that way. They're going to view it that way probably for a while, unless things get totally out of hand. But yeah, I mean, the Browns. If a loss to the Browns would mean I'm looking at every single thing, because that's unacceptable.
And Michael Kaepernick chimes in with saying how he will not fire his yes man this season. And then brings up another good point here. Robert Saleh is a better DC than a head coach. What, if anything, and again, this is something that could be explored. Maybe not, I don't know optically how this would look, firing yet another defensive coordinator in season, or making another defensive philosophy change. But with Robert Saleh hanging out there, do they explore that opportunity? Now, there's been some talk about maybe bringing Saleh in a Matt Patricia-like role, which we've seen it didn't work out well last year. And again, optically, it would look ridiculous if this team does that again. But could the Eagles go with a lesser firing, another coordinator firing, or is that even worse than firing a head coach with the way the Eagles have pretty much gone through coordinators over the last 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, they would look pretty foolish if they fired a coordinator after just 4 weeks. Look, I mean, if you told me this offseason I could have Vic Fangio or I could have Robert Saleh, I would take Robert Saleh in a heartbeat. The Eagles don't prefer that philosophy for their defense. Their last few defensive coordinators have all been the same thing, and guess who's the mastermind of that defense? It's Vic Fangio. They got the guy, basically their dream guy that they wanted. They probably don't even consider it, depending on who's the head coach next year. Fangio's probably back. Like, they're not going to want to fire a coordinator if they think that they have another shot next year. They're going to want that continuity. But all things considered, I would rather have Robert Saleh than Vic Fangio as my defensive coordinator. But, we just missed the boat on that one.
Yeah, and Robert Saleh obviously now will probably – I don't know how much of a hot hire he would be as a head coach heading into 2025. Maybe he returns – to head up a defense. Probably more likely that's where he'll come back next year. But that's neither here nor there at week 5 or week 6 of the NFL. But Kyle, again, everybody who's tuned in, thank you for chiming in. Don't forget, this is being seen on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Please, I need the subscriptions. I need the likes. We're trying to build something here from the ground up, starting over yet again. But please help us out. Kyle, before I let you go, tell the folks out there where they can find you.
Yep. So on Twitter at Kyle_Quinn WIP, and of course on your FM dial 94.1 every Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 with Joe and Hugh.
How's everything over there? Did everybody survive today? I know it was a rough day.
It was miserable. I mean, I had a feeling of dread before the season even started, or the series even started. But there's no softening the blow of losing to a team like the Mets. It'd be like losing to the Cowboys in a playoff game. I just can't.
Very good point.
So brutal.
Very good point. All right, Kyle. Listen, we will catch up next week. Hopefully, we're talking the Eagle win. We're going to break down the Eagle Giant game. So, we'll speak next week, man.
Right. Thanks, Matt. Guaranteed win. Go Birds, baby.
There's Kyle Quinn with his guaranteed win. Everybody, you heard it here first. Kyle Quinn guaranteeing a win over the Browns. Famous last words. I will use that next week if it doesn't work out. But there's Kyle. So the Birds Blast is back on the new network. It's good stuff. This is the time of the show where I'm going to break down my week 5 picks, or give you my week 5 picks, or tell you how I did week 5, and then break down my week 6 picks. Week 5 was an abomination for me. I was 4-10 in week 5. I don't think I've ever been 4-10, even as a child picking games in the NFL on a week-to-week basis. So 4-10 in week 5, now 39-39 on the season. Terrible start to the 2024 season. So here we go. My week 6 picks, brought to you by me, or brought to you by the It's a Wrap Sports Network here on YouTube. As I said, I like Cleveland in this game for only the pure reason because I don't have any confidence in the Eagles. I literally see the Browns losing this game or Eagles losing this game? No, I don't. But can I see it? Yes. So that's how I am with this team right now. The Eagles should not be favored over everybody. Kyle made a point talk about the 9.5 point spread. Eagles are favored in this game. The Eagles have no business being favored over anybody in the National Football League. That's an indictment on the NFL and of course the Cleveland Browns that the Eagles are favored that high. But I'm going to go with Cleveland. Hopefully I'm wrong. Tonight we got San Francisco and Seattle. Give me San Francisco. Jacksonville and Chicago on Sunday. Jacksonville. Arizona, Green Bay, Arizona. Indianapolis, Tennessee. Give me Indy. Houston and New England. I like Houston. Tampa and New Orleans. Give me New Orleans. Washington and Baltimore. It should be a really good game. That's actually a sneakily good game to watch. But give me Baltimore. The Chargers and the Broncos. Give me the Chargers. Pittsburgh and the Raiders. Give me the Raiders. Detroit and Dallas. Never will pick the Cowboys to win ever. Give me Detroit. Atlanta versus Carolina. It's Atlanta, Cincinnati, and the Giants on Sunday night. Give me Cincinnati. And Buffalo and the Jets on Monday. Give me Buffalo. And then you have my week 6 picks here on the network. So let's hope I do better than 4-10 all for the week. I hope Sirianni won't be back after the season. I like to see Cliff Kingsbury, Ben Johnson, or Bill Belichick if John Harbaugh got left to bring him over for the others. Mike, listen. What I think the better question I have when it comes to Sirianni's future with this team is what would it take not for him to get fired with all of this going on, with all the division within the locker room, the fractured relationships with players, allegedly. What would it take for him not to get fired? I think that's the more appropriate question that I have. Is like, what would it take to save his job? Is a Super Bowl championship? Is an appearance in a championship game? Is an appearance in the Super Bowl? Is that what saves Nick Sirianni's job? Because if, that to me would be what I would want to know more of. Because if last year wasn't enough to fire him, I mean, are we looking at a complete implosion of the season in order to get him out of here? Would a loss to the Cleveland Browns on week 6 in the 2024 NFL season, would that be enough to fire him? I mentioned that I think the optics of that, when they wasted the opportunity, if they were going to move on from Sirianni during the bye week, that's a better thing. But to pull the trigger on him after a Cleveland Brown game in week 6, how would that look? So I think the bigger question I have is what would it take for him not to get fired at this point? So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think if Sirianni reached the NFC Championship game, win or lose. So, okay, Mike, you're saying that if the Eagles get to the NFC Championship game, that would save Sirianni's job. Yeah, I mean, I'll buy that. Absolutely buy that, because that's the trajectory I don't think the Eagles are going to get to. And I know a lot of Eagle fans who may be coming around a little bit more now than they had been before, starting to think that way. But yeah, all right, Mike, I'll buy that. Man. I'll buy that. The NFC Championship game saves Nick Sirianni's job. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but I'll buy it. Don't forget, everybody, the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, one of the shows from the old network that came over here with me, and we'll be seen on this time slot every Thursday throughout the regular season into the playoffs, if God willing we get there, and as far as we can roll this thing to the Super Bowl. And then later on tonight, of course, don't forget to be here for the final word with your boy Matty B, as I'll be back here at 10 o'clock to kind of wrap up the week when it comes to this show. And then tomorrow night, we get to roll one more time as we get to roll the dice of the Flyers season starting. So we're really looking forward to that. Flyers Canucks clear the ice tomorrow night, immediately following the Flyer Vancouver game. So busy couple days here on the network, but we got to keep rolling through. Do what we got to do. This Eagles team is not supposed to, this Eagles team, not Super Bowl or bust. Wasn't that what everybody thought they were, though? That's what I heard all offseason, Mike. That's all I heard. I heard this was a Super Bowl. This is a Super Bowl team. That's all I heard. When did we change that? I know I agree with you, but when was that changed? That's all I heard was Super Bowl or bust. They fired Robbie yet? Not to my knowing, they haven't. No. Don't expect that to happen for at least a couple of days. I think they're going to let that thing lie. Now they might have made a decision about him, but or something. But they're going to sit down and have conversations and discussions and let kind of things settle down a little bit before they make a move here. They got a little time. They got the rest of the playoffs to make a decision here on that probably. So, but no, Rob Thompson is still employed as of this moment, as I know, for the Philadelphia Phillies. But tonight, later on, we'll discuss more Phillies talk. Of course, it's still a raw thing. Still a raw emotion right now about the Phillies. And I'll absolutely, and then just to give you a little preview, I'm going to jump into what I think the Phillies need to do. A very early free agent / trade / moves that this team should make in the offseason to hopefully maybe correct some of these problems. We'll discuss my plan. Again, this is a preliminary plan based on raw emotion and disgust right now. So I don't know if this plan will actually be the more legitimate plan going forward, but we'll talk about that at 10 o'clock on the Final Word show. They're saying they used the raw material of Tampa Bay Rays Tropicana roof. Yeah, listen, man. They're saying they used the raw material for the Tampa Bay Rays Tropicana roof. Will they get in trouble? Well, someone's going to get in trouble. I mean, if the material was not up to code, somebody inspected that, somebody passed it, there could be some lawsuits coming. Absolutely. I saw that. And boy, did that stadium get destroyed. Maybe they should take this as an omen. Knock that thing down. That stadium is disgusting. Knock that thing down, build a new stadium, and start over. Don't waste time trying to repair it. Knock it down. Tropicana Field is an abomination. It's like a stadium that's caught in between the cookie cutter stadiums of the 80s and the new style stadiums of the 21st century. It's disgusting. It's dank, dark. I hate it. I hate going to games there. It's so impersonal, and yeah, I did see that they were they said that they used the raw materials, and that's why the building kind of shook apart. So somebody could be in trouble for that. Absolutely, that could be a big time lawsuit for people. Who would you prefer to be possibly the next Eagles head coach? Listen, that's a great question, Mike. And real quick, I talk about this every year. And I have not really developed a plan for this year yet. I'm still early on in this process. But there's some coaches that were so last year I did a 4-step plan towards the end of the season who I wanted the Eagles to bring in. And this was one of them. And here we go. Mike Vrabel, who is still out there. I mean, he's now a free agent, along with Ian Cunningham. I think Ian Cunningham would be a good GM for this team. This was my choice D of last year. This might be my new choice A. Here is my choice C of last year. Mike McDonald from the Ravens and Mike Borgonzi from the Chiefs. Because don't forget, Mike, I want Howie out of here too. So I want both of them fired. And then my choice B, and he's still hanging around, Eric Bieniemy, Jeff Ireland. This was my second choice for the new head coach GM combination of the Eagles last year. And this was plan A. I still think this would work well for us. I think Mike Tomlin would be great here. Of course, Adam Peters is now the GM of the Commanders, so that wouldn't work out. But I still think Mike Tomlin's a good coach, and I think Mike Tomlin would be the perfect kind of coach to come in here and repair the culture of this team, and repair what's been done over the years to this team with the Nick Sirianni influence. So there was my choices from last year, Mike. I haven't really dug deep into this year yet, but I still would like Eric Bieniemy. I would still like Mike Vrabel, Mike McDonald. I mean, there's still 3 individuals that I would probably still consider high on my list to replace Nick Sirianni, and again, Mike Tomlin as well. So there you have my choices from last year, and they still hold water for this year. So, but as we progress deeper into the season, I'll take a look more comprehensive and maybe come up with a couple other candidates. But there you go. There's my choices to replace Nick Sirianni. And don't forget, I want a package deal. I don't want one gone. I want both of them gone. And if Jeff Lurie can sell the team and complete the trifecta, great. But that's another day, another fish for another day. But I want both of them gone. I want Roseman gone, and I want Sirianni gone. You got to understand, to me, it's a package deal. Because if we don't fire Howie, all we're going to do is get another Nick Sirianni. So that doesn't change nothing. Was it what they say, the same circus but different clowns? That's exactly what you'll get with Howie Roseman still as your GM. So There you have it, Mike. I hope that answered your question. That's going to wrap me up for today. Don't forget, tonight, 10 o'clock is the final word with Matty B. We'll come back. We'll be talking Phillies. We'll be talking Eagles. I didn't even talk to Kyle about Devin White. Wow, man. We're talking about Phillies. We're talking Eagles. We'll talk some Flyers tonight. Definitely going to talk Flyers tonight as the season is quickly approaching. And we'll get things started for our final show of the week. But we have programming all throughout the weekend, Flyers post-game stuff too. So Michael says, oh, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, man. We're trying. We're trying, man. Build it in flight, brother. We're building in flight. Chris chimes in with material winds, gust 115, didn't get up to 110 miles an hour when Milton made landfall, and it was decided on Monday. Yeah, I saw some of the pictures from the. I was watching some of the live weather stuff last night with the weatherman standing actually inside, like outside in the middle of the storm, and then I saw some of the aftermath stuff today. Just completely destructive, man. What, 3 million people or 2 million people are without power today? Sucks, man. It sucks. But and again, all prayers and thoughts are with the people of South Central Florida as they deal with this. So, but that's going to wrap me up, guys. Be sure to be back here tonight at 10 o'clock for the final word with Matty B. As we'll continue our Phillies eulogy, autopsy, whatever you want to talk about. We'll talk about some more Eagles. We'll get into the Flyers as well. We'll see you guys later on tonight at 10. Have a great rest of your early evening and see you tonight.